Batman is usually all about saving the day, but sometimes he's also about empathy? Welcome back, Nerd Squad! Today we'll be talking about Bats', if not empathy, at least sympathy and understanding for those he fights against, as we count down the top 10 villains Batman respects. Let's get into it. Number 10. Cheetah. Oddly enough, Batman is a guy that seems to be pretty full of compassion and sympathy for villains at times. In the Justice League animated series, it is the respect that he shows for Cheetah when listening to her plight about how she was forced to experiment on herself due to a lack of continued funding to put towards her research, paying for proper test subjects. It's a respect and sympathy that he shows towards her that helps him to actually get free from captivity in the episode Injustice for All Part 2. Granted, his kindness towards Cheetah was likely all part of this escape plot, but it could have also come from a sincere place as well. I don't know why it can't be both. Batman is a pretty compassionate individual more often than not, so that's important to keep in mind. Number 9. Kite Man. Kite Man ended up teaming up and helping Batman during the War of Jokes and Riddles. Granted, he wasn't necessarily a super willing ally, but I think Batman still appreciated Kite Man's assistance and felt bad that he had lost his son and was put in such a tough spot between both the Riddler, Joker, and, well, himself. Not only did Batman respect this version of Kite Man more from the Prime Earth continuity, but I think fans also came to respect him more too based on his tragic origins, which also helped to give his whole Kite Man name and image more meaning. For that, he was just pretty ridiculous. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, just a quick reminder to smash that like if you love Batman as much as I love Batman, and to be kind to each other, because that's what Batman would do. Also, if you want to check out our DC list, we got that for even more DC content. Number 8. Talia Al Ghul. So I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, Amanda, didn't Talia assault Batman? How can you put her on this list? Oh my gosh. But although this is an awful thing that happened, I would still say that Batman respects Talia. She is still the mother of his child, and to be honest, he kind of had a weird, bizarrely chill reaction to that whole scenario. Of course, everyone reacts to trauma and assault differently, so I am not judging him. It just seems like he moved past that whole situation pretty quickly, so that was kind of weird. Batman and Talia have had a very bizarre romantic history overall, but Batman has definitely at times both loved and respected her, and she seems to have felt the same way about him. Which is also why that whole thing that happened between them, it doesn't really make a lot of sense based on their characterization and their relationship. Batman even brought Catwoman along with him to meet Talia after Selina and he became engaged because he respected her. There is also the fact that they both have a child together, which I think also fosters some mutual respect between the two. Though I don't think Batman respects the way Talia raised Damian exactly, or the beliefs at least that she raised him with. I do think he's like, no, don't agree with that. Number 7. Two-Face. Before Two-Face was a villain, he was Harvey Dent, Gotham's successful district attorney who was all about catching and convicting criminals in an attempt to keep the citizens of Gotham safe, and in order to make the city a better overall place to live. How nice. He was an upstanding citizen until he was disfigured at the hands of Sal Maroni, who threw acid in his face. On Earth 1, Batman respected Dent so much that when he initially turned to crime as a result of becoming disfigured, he even attempted to talk Two-Face down, encouraging him to seek rehabilitation instead. Dent actually ended up being convinced by Batman too. He got plastic surgery and for a time became a law-abiding citizen once more. Until his face got all scarred up again, in an explosion at least. Then he was back to being Two-Face. Number 6. Poison Ivy. While Batman might not always see eye to eye with Ivy, he definitely has some respect for her. There was a time that she escaped prison and seduced wealthy men using her pheromone powers, whose riches she would then steal. However, when Batman learned that the men were ending up dead as a result of a disease that was also slowly killing Ivy as well, he attempted to get her to surrender willingly so that she could be treated. Despite the fact that Ivy is a villain, it's also been implied on a few occasions that she might actually have genuine feelings for Batman, and he for her, to a certain extent at least. The two even worked together somewhat after Gotham was left in ruins following a severe earthquake during the events of No Man's Land. Batman even freed Poison Ivy and the orphans that she had taken in from Clayface, who had imprisoned them. And he was surprised to learn after those events that Ivy cared enough for the orphans to turn herself in when one of them was accidentally poisoned by Ivy in exchange for getting said orphan, Rose, medical attention. He was like, I guess she is still more human than plant. And then Ivy was like, actually, maybe I just want to be a human again. Anyways, it's fine. Ivy's still Ivy now, so she wasn't a human for very long. Number 5. Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. You can say it either way, I think, but yes. Even though Ra's is one of the best at being bad around, Batman can still level with Ra's. Both respect one another as adversaries and have even teamed up before. Ra's is such a powerful and intelligent character that Batman can see the value of him whenever they have a common enemy, but also knows to be very diligent about sharing information with him, as Ra's can also be a deadly opponent. Ra's al Ghul, to this effect, has also almost defeated Batman on more than one occasion. There is also the element of the two at times having a somewhat familial relationship, with Talia kind of being married to Bruce in Ra's eyes. So there is that to consider as well. Though of course if Batman stands against Ra's instead of with him, then this relationship seems to quickly become null and void in his eyes. Also, for those that listen to this back and are like, why is she going between Ra's and Ra's? It's because I like Ra's al Ghul better personally when I'm saying it, but there's a lot of people out there that are Ra's fans, and so I just like to give people a little bit of both, you know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Number 4. Clayface. For a time, Clayface was on a path of redemption and was even put on a team by Batman. Of course, this wouldn't last, and in the end he would end up becoming villainous again, but this likely will not stop Batman from trying to get through to him again in the future. After all, Batman has attempted to reach out to Clayface multiple times and convince him that he should be a hero, not a villain. Not only that, but Clayface, even before he was on Batman's assembled team, had teamed up with Batman. So it's clear that these two can sometimes get along and even come to have respect for one another as allies and partners. Number 3. Harley Quinn. I mean, currently Harley is Batman's new ally, partner, even sidekick if you will. Batman's respect for Harley likely started out from him pitying her somewhat, but then realizing that Harley was one tough cookie who did not actually need his pity. Harley Quinn in her own right has proven to be a more formidable foe even without her attachment to the Joker, when she has struck out on her own. More recently, Harley joined Batman and Catwoman in the fight against Joker during the events of Joker War. Seeing that Gotham was in serious trouble after Joker stole Bruce Wayne's millions, Harley decided to team up with the Bats in an effort to win the city back from the villain. After the war was won and Joker had escaped and seemingly disappeared once more, Harley decided to stay on the straight and narrow a little bit longer, becoming Batman's partner. But I know there's gonna be people too that are like, well then she's not a villain right now, but she's been a villain for a long time. A long time. I don't think she's full hero just yet. Same with this one. Number 2. Phantasm. Oddly enough, although Batman was surprised to find out that Phantasm was actually Andrea Beaumont, his former fiancée, this only made him respect her villainous persona, Phantasm, knowing that it was actually the woman he'd loved behind the mask, even if he couldn't agree with her methods. Andrea became Phantasm to avenge her father's death, and when the two both discovered each other's identity, they found a sort of mutual understanding between them. The major problem Batman had was that Andrea's personal vendetta was being handled in a more villainous way, with her taking an eye for an eye approach against those who had caused her father so much pain, and were ultimately responsible for his demise. She was looking to kill those involved, which of course went against Batman's beliefs and his no-kill rule, went against his code, his credence if you will. However, in the end, Andrea got away, and it seemed as though Batman was kind of willing to allow her to disappear following her escape. Number 1. Catwoman. We can't really call Catwoman a villain now, I don't think, but it is important to acknowledge that's how she started out in the comics. I actually think Batman's respect helped to bring Selina around and really inspired her to work on a full-on reform for herself, which now has her more aligned with the heroic lifestyle. Although, she still has been known to pull off a caper or two here and there. And even Penguin more recently still considered Catwoman to be one of the villains when he spirited her away to his underground lair to lay low while Joker destroyed the Gotham above. Catwoman and Batman, I think, both make the other question their identity and morals in a way that makes them each better people as time goes on. It's why they're so great together, whether it be romantically or just in terms of a kick-ass team-up. Time for an honorable mention. We talk a lot about the Joker on this channel, and to be honest, I'm not sure that Batman respects him most of the time. But it is something that I still wanted to bring up because I'm sure there's a lot of Joker fans out there that are like, but what about Joker? What about Joker? Well, we did learn in the 3 Jokers story that Batman at least seems to respect the man that the Joker used to be, enough to make sure that his family is safe, and respects them enough to keep them safe from the villain. There have also been a few times that the Joker was made sane, or at least least temporarily appeared sane. And during some of those times, Batman has even been shown to sympathize with the villain. For example, in Brave and the Bold issue 191, when the two team up together after Joker is made sane through his emotions, as he grieves the supposed death of his cohort and his friend in crime, the Penguin. They together then sleuth out the Penguin faked his death as part of a heist, and Batman even congratulates Joker on a job well done. He congratulates him. Wow. Who are some of your favorite Batman villains? Which villains do you think Batman respects the most? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host Amanda McKnight, saying thank you so much for watching and reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.